All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. Um, Tonight, we are going to have what we call our carrier roundtable. We have a bunch of friends of the show that we're bringing up on board. We're going to probably be looking like the Hollywood Squares here in a little bit. I'm going to bring a bunch of our show contributors on and good friends of the show. So tonight, if you have questions, we got a bunch of gentlemen on that are running very successful operations. They're here to help and share their information and their experiences. So I always like to say that a lot of times there are a lot of people that give out information, but the information is only as good as the person that's providing it. And if you gotta, usually at the truck stops and lunch counters, that's not necessarily the best information that you want to be dealing with. You want to be dealing with someone that has a little bit more knowledge and got a little bit of a proven track record of success. And so tonight we're going to bring some gentlemen on to help share their experiences, what's going on right now in the market. And without any further ado, let me welcome in my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. Good evening, Chuck.
Hey Rico, how you doing, buddy? Looking
We're
forward to
hanging in
tonight.
there. We having a couple of just a small little technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. But bear with us. We're gonna try to work them out. Um, but I'm excited for tonight's show because I always learn a lot when we have other carriers on because we always learn from other people's experiences, and sometimes they may be going through something that you may not necessarily be experiencing, but it can definitely help you navigate some tumultuous waters when it comes to different things because it helps to have someone that has been through some of the ills and wars of what it takes to run a trucking business. And sometimes,
Rico, I don't think that there's much that any of our listeners could throw at this group of carriers. All of us combined with everything we've all done. I don't think there's a lot of situations that we've never, that we haven't seen before.
right. Well, without any further ado, I don't want to belabor the point. But before we do, let me do this part. I'm getting used to this new format, and I always be sometimes forgetting. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we could use your help. Like, share, and subscribe to the video. Go to the channel, like, share, and subscribe. Send us information if you find anything that we're sharing tonight. If you find it anything helpful or anything like that, please by all means send it to somebody else. Turn them on to the show. If you would like to participate in tonight's show, I know on YouTube and Facebook, you can just type right there in the chat, and we'll see your question right there in the chat. And if you have a question specifically, we'll make sure to bring it up and get it addressed. I'm not sure because we got so many guys on tonight. I'm not sure if we're going to have any extra links that we can send out for you to join us via video. But by all means, the chat works just fine. You can type your question or responses into the chat, and we'll definitely make sure that we weave them into the conversation. With that being said, I guess we'll go ahead and start introducing our guest, Chuck.
Yeah, let's do that. We have Ken Olsen is here. He's the founder and owner of TKO Transportation in Milton. Now we had some audio visual problems before. I don't know whether he's on with us right now, but he will be joining again. We have our good friend Ted Johnson from Elite Carriers in Nebraska, and we have our old friend Darryl Rutherford from Duranco Specialized up in Barrie, Ontario. And everybody here brings their own area of expertise, but it's all trucking related. So with no further ado, welcome to the show, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Thanks for taking time out again to join us here on the Rates and Lanes podcast, gentlemen. We definitely appreciate it. I think we're trying to get Ken is in contact with the help desk to try to see if he can get his audio situation squared away. But I got him on standby just in case. First question throw out to the panel, I guess, would be how is everybody's? I guess we'll start up with Ted, and then we'll move over to Darryl. How have you found business to be over the past? I think it's been about it's probably been about 6 months since we had
Yeah.
everybody on, since we had the band all together. How have you guys been handling things and with your business and with your operations? What challenges are you seeing right now in this economy?
It's changing fast. It's changed a lot faster than expected. So fast where I was not in up meetings with my customers to figure out what we had to do to stay competitive. What they kind of expected from us. That's what I had to do to keep the trucks rolling. But it's been different. Our outbound freight is still strong here in Nebraska, but it's our freight back that has really been struggling. Just a lot more effort, a lot more work into that. The stuff coming in.
Now, how are you making out getting back into Nebraska? Is that real tough?
We're making it happen. It's fair as far as the rates that we're getting. I'll tell you what's really helped me was a lot of, I'll say about half of the freight that we bring back to Nebraska now is stuff that never sees the load boards. It's stuff
Good.
with the freight brokers that we've been working with all year long. So it's the same guys all the time, and that's what really helps. And being on those email lists that other people aren't being added to in this environment really helps. So we have first dibs on some of that stuff. So I'll say that the relationship with the brokers and getting those emails have been a big help.
Oh yeah, you know what? You were. It sounds like you were smart, like a lot of the smarter carriers, and didn't go crazy chasing the spot market. And the boys and girls that did, they're paying for it now because their phone's not ringing.
Absolutely, yeah. The phones don't ring anymore. That's changed.
Yeah. And the crazy rates that we've been seeing for the last 30 months, almost 30, about 30 months, they've evaporated, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
So we'll toss it over to Darryl. Darryl runs quite a little bit of a unique operation. So Darryl, what have you been experiencing with things on your end?
So our outbound is still strong as ever. Not enough trucks. We're finding up and down with the backhauls. We're losing a little bit to the cheaper carriers. There's always the fact to save them $50, and my experience is just like, okay, no problem. I let it go, and they usually always come back. There's too many people out there get involved, and they start telling fibs. They're not truthful with their carriers. Don't tell them when they give you back. They bid freight on having 20 feet or 40 feet on their trailer, and they pick up 2 skids. Then all of a sudden the 40 feet falls through, and they have to lay the driver
Yes.
over.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty scheduled run, and I'd say we're down maybe 15% on the backhaul. The biggest thing about my business is I just built the relationships over the last 20 years with the carriers and the different brokers that we deal with. And it's the trust factor. So you're always going to have your shoppers. They're always just fill-ins. But I think what the real problem is right now is the cost. The inflation is killing everyone. Owner operators are getting harder and harder. Like, we're doing the best we can, passing on our discounts 100% to our owner operators without a charge on it.
Right.
But they're not seeing the money.
So
Yeah.
are you 100% owner operator, or do you have company drivers in a mixture of the two?
I'm company guys and owner operator. I'm 50-50.
And how about you, Ted? I'm sorry, we didn't ask you that question.
I'm probably 75 company driver now and 25 owner operator. I was building.
Wow.
I really built my business around our operators, but I was forced, needless to say, to kind of get the company driver part going. And now that I'm doing it, it's like, well, I should have done this a long time ago.
Well, if you can find the drivers, that's that's the hardest issue. And I think everybody can agree. If you can find the drivers, yeah, that works. You're building equity in your rolling stock. You have a lot more control. You don't have a guy walk in on Friday going, "I quit," and hand you the paperwork or the license plates. Depends on where you are. That doesn't happen. Mind you, it can happen with a company driver, but you can control things a little better sometimes. Control the narrative.
And that's one of the biggest conundrums that a lot of people in the industry are having, is they have a big problem with actually getting the talent, getting the drivers, whether it be owner operator or whether it be a company driver. What are some things that you guys are able to do to help? I don't know necessarily, because like we just said, it is a problem, but what are some of the things that you guys have done to help navigate when it comes to trying to recruit and attract drivers, whether it be owner operator or company drivers?
Well, as far as recruiting goes and getting good guys here, it's all been word of mouth. So what I try to do is keep my current roster of drivers happy, stay honest with them, be as flexible as I can with them. So that way they go and tell their friends about how much they enjoy their job.
Right.
That part there has been a bigger success for me than advertising and social medias or getting the word out. However, it's been word of mouth that I've seen that's been huge.
Now, are you keeping your drivers? Are you successful with retention?
Yeah, really, like zero turnover. And I can honestly say that. I mean, once they get here, once I bring them into my vortex, so to speak, they just stick
That's great.
We kind of say, well, we should
Because
yeah,
because retention is so much cheaper than recruitment.
yeah, money helps. I probably do pay. I mean, I'm right up there, I guess, on the wages. But
And are you slip seating at all?
what do you mean by that?
Well, do you have a dedicated driver in each truck, and nobody touches that truck but him or her?
As long as they're not breaking down, yes.
Okay. Well, yeah.
When breakdowns come, they kind of switch trucks for a while, but that'd be the only reason.
And Darryl, how are you making out with retention?
It's tough. I've got my base crew that I've had for a while. I've had to let some people go. Not really having people quit. It's more you get them here and they just don't want to follow the rules. But in my business, it's
Sounds like a
extremely hard.
trucker.
Yeah, it's extremely hard because I'm West Coast, right? My guys are gone for 12 days at a time. We're trying to do different things and come up with some ideas. I'm actually getting into slip seating because I think I'm going to go away from the owner operator. Just because a lot of owner operators aren't very business-like anymore. They're still only looking at what's in their jeans, and they don't understand if they work the business properly, there's always more in your jeans. But our program here is now going to come with 14 weeks of time off, plus your 2 weeks of vacation that the Canadian government gives you. So you're going to have 16 weeks a year off. The only thing is I'm trying to match people up to 2 trucks. So I'm going to have 3 drivers on 2 trucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to outfit the trucks with, fridges, microwaves, XM radio, CB. We have our Isaac logbook system that takes care of the loads and stuff. Brand new mattresses with mattress bags. So, when they get back, some people don't want to sleep on someone else's mattress. They're going to have their own mattress bag, and they'll put, to have 3 mattresses for trucks, not a problem. I'm focusing on trying how to figure out how to give them a decent yearly gross salary and get them home. Because, some guys like to run 5 days a week, but that short haul stuff can be, I've done it myself when I started out. It can be 36 hours at home and you're gone. 36 hours you're gone. And you get 2 weeks a year vacation. What I'm trying to do with the slip seating is get people some real home time. Now, my guys make about $120,000 a year gross as a company guy. The slip seating is less money. It's going to work out to about $80,000 plus your vacation pay. But like I told them, if we can get this going and get it working and everyone's happy, I'm going to actually end up getting 2 extra trips out of the truck per year, which
A
means
lot of money.
if raises, right? I've been looking at the carriers around that do similar to what I do, like Manitoulin.
Right.
I'm actually above Manitoulin by $4 an hour because I pay by the trip, but it breaks down per hour mileage. Like there's a lot of talk about driver pay, and I think people are just stirring the pot. As an owner, you know you have to break everything down by the mile. You need to know what your tires are working because you got to charge your customer. So I got rid of the mileage pay and the pick and drop pay. I looked at the hours gone and how much can I afford per hour gone. And you know, it's not a huge wage, but I looked at my guys leave on Friday nights. So I started the clock at 12:01 a.m. Friday, and they're usually back by Tuesday. And I ended the clock at midnight Tuesday. Works out to 288 hours. Well, I basically started to say, if you start on Friday morning when you know you're departing, and no matter what time you get home, I pay you till midnight on Tuesday. At $15 an hour, it works out to 43.20 a trip. So I just rounded it off to 4,500. Now, when you divide that by 140 hours, it works out like $34 an hour. A little bit of change on top of that. So what the biggest thing concern now is how can I afford to pay overtime after like say 60 hours is what I'm trying to figure out. Like
Why would you even go there? That's a slippery slope, is it not?
I don't think so because if a guy works 44 hours in a factory and he goes to 50, he gets 6 hours overtime. I think if we want people to come in this career, you have to treat them like professional, and we have to figure out how to pay them fairly. If they're going to be on the road living in a truck, we got to provide the best that we can for them, and we got to start treating them like skilled labor.
Well, I agree. I totally agree with you there. But once you start with overtime, especially in this game where you've got everything to contend with, you've got shippers that take half a day to put 2 pallets on or take 2 pallets off. You've got snowstorms. You've got everything else. How do you recoup that money? Because we've wrestled with this for 20 odd years.
It's a tough call. It's when you're working a snowstorm. If you're in a truck stop off duty, then you're not being paid. It's actual logbook hours, working and driving, pre-tripping. We haven't got to the point of paying them for sitting in the truck stop.
So
It breaks
what do
down.
you do with a case? But here's what we found. When productivity was failing through no fault of the drivers, but traffic was bad at the border or traffic was bad going through Chicago or whatever, um, all of a sudden, you're paying, in your case, $34 an hour, and the truck is moving 10 miles an hour.
That's a downfall, but drivers can only work 70 hours a week.
Right.
So I'm basing everything on the 70 hours a week. We have yet to have a trip other than a breakdown, and usually in a breakdown, I just fly them home, put them in another truck, then fly them back when the truck's ready. Okay. I have yet to really see in my lane, the way I do my business, anything be more than 4 or 5 hours maximum ad done. We basically have the same rules as FedEx. If we're picking up 2 skids, you got 15 minutes. If you don't deliver, my truck's out of there, and we reschedule the delivery, and you pay a miss pick.
And so it should be. I'm glad to hear that because that was always one of the problems in the LTL game.
But that's where the relationship comes in, to building a relationship with your carriers and talking to your agents. And, even dealing with Michael at traffic, if we have a problem, we get on the call and we talk about it. I was dealing with Pete over at Fargo today. We're talking about a few things, looking at dropping trailers at the pickup part because they're asking us to be there at 11, but they don't want to start loading until 2. I don't want to charge my customers wait time. I'm not here to increase my customers' bills. I'm here to provide solutions. But I don't whine about it. I'm like, okay, how do we fix it? This is a problem. We need a solution. Someone needs to talk. If they don't care, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not doing your freight.
But drop trailers get, like, especially in this market when there are no trailers, that's a very, very expensive alternative.
It depends on what your market is for the customer you're dealing with. Okay, I'm excuse me, but customers I'm talking about, I'm over $1 million a year with that guy, and
Okay.
it's every Friday. And we actually had an issue with him holding us up and getting the freight out. It was causing our trucks to be out 5 hours later. I finally came up with a situation they could handle. We pick up the freight this Friday, but it doesn't go to next Friday, which is amazing for my job, because
Oh
with my
yeah.
the way I LTL and everything, I have their freight on the dock for a week, and I can work with it and put more stuff, maximize my weight, the whole 9 yards. It took quite a bit of conversation to get them to that point, and I actually had to say, well, I'm sorry. My guys are important to me. They can't be leaving here at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to have to walk away, and I wish you all the best. We'll help you when we can, but I can't be sitting at your dock and being there at 11 a.m. and leaving at 7.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately for me, our service is amazing. And every time this company puts their freight on another truck, it's damaged. They don't help with the receivers because it's all ground level. The companies aren't fitted for it, and Duranco shines. We've had one claim in 6 years of business with them, and
Wow.
it was for 10 pieces of wood. We take our pride. So when you go in to talk, you got to be to know what your competitor does. Polaris actually tried to take it away from me, but they wouldn't take any more than 4 spots.
Right.
And
That's
a lot
their
of
model.
times they got 6 spots. They wouldn't take it. So you just got to be creative, especially in my market.
Yeah. No. You know what? And the LTL market is a great market, but it's a totally different ballgame. Ted, do you drop a lot of trailers in your business?
Yep, I've got 2 trailers for every truck.
Wow. And the
Yeah.
reefers.
Yep.
And at what distance are you running?
We go all the way to the East Coast, about 14, I think about 1,500 miles over there, and then we go about 1,600 miles, down to Miami, Florida.
Wow.
Oh, you going all the way to Miami, Ted?
I'm my trucks are. I'm not. I haven't gone to Maryland because I refuse to give up on our 100% sort card on that lane with never missing a shipment. When all else fails, no one else can go. I have done that.
How are you making out when you go to Miami? How are you making out with loads out of there?
Well, we don't get really. We just don't get freight to Florida. So we're usually coming to Southern Georgia, Southern Alabama. We've gone as far up to Chattanooga, Tennessee before we picked up freight because it was paying just as good to pick it up there versus it's the same price in Florida as it is up there. So
Oh yeah.
the way all the things we've gone into Kentucky before picking anything up before, but it's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, there's not a lot coming out. Like there's a little bit of produce that comes out of Florida, but not a lot. There's some certain times of the year. There's flowers, and there is between Homestead and Apopka. There's a lot of tropical plants, but you got to be set up for it.
I
And
do,
what they want for those, they're looking for trucks with decking.
yeah, I do have a customer in Central Florida for half the year in produce season. It's coming off. And then we follow that customer all the way up into the central belt, I guess. I usually call it the corn belt, but
Right.
follow them up through Indiana, Illinois. So half the year we're covered, I guess, and then the other half we're purchasing. So,
Yeah, no, it's a tough market. Like Rico always says, you got to take your backhaul with you.
Yeah, Miami
that's
has been historically that way. So Darryl, you had made mention about before we came on air. You wanted to speak about something. I'm gonna turn the floor over to you and let you talk about that.
Okay, so for our driver recruiting, I got involved, and I've actually been out in the truck a little bit, and Chuck gives me trouble all the time, but it's working. I went in from regular insurance to what they call Blue Sky program. It's a preferred insurance market. It's not a captive, but it's the stepping towards captive. So what's happening is I'm not with the Northbridge, I'm not with Old Republic, I'm not with Progressive. I am with a group of carriers who we spend more time doing the right thing, trying to get the safety programs in place, making sure we're hiring the right drivers. So what actually happened this year is I got zero increase on my insurance premium. And you have to be invited into this. So it's a really hard thing to get into. But I put together with John Farquhar of Summit Risk Services a mentoring program. And they actually said, okay, go ahead. What we're doing is we're taking drivers out of school with a melt. They have to have the proper melt
Right.
or 1 year experience on top of the melt. So you're at 2 years. You don't have your 3. And we put them in the truck with a trainer, and all our trainers are certified by Kim Richardson, so that we actually have some real training there. And we run 18,000 miles, 3 full West Coast trips. And the trainer does not drive the truck unless it becomes a safety issue. You know, like if you get into a real bad snowstorm, you're not going to let a rookie drive. You're going to take over and you're going to start talking and explaining. After the 3, we have a numbering system on 25 points of what they have to learn from 1 to 5. The reason the insurance company did it is most people will pass people on if they're semi-okay. I made a rule, you need to be 4 or 5 in every single category before you get in your own truck.
Right.
So that means at 4, you can do it well and explain it. 5, you can teach me how to do it.
Okay.
If they're at the point after the 3 trips and the 18,000 miles, and we spend a lot of time, and there's 2 evaluations per trip, we then move you into your own truck, but you're not alone. You are now following your mentor for another 3 trips, and he's evaluating. So you follow him, he follows you, you jump back and forth. It's a little bit tricky with the deliveries. It's a logistics nightmare because you got to make sure 2 trucks can get the same spot. You know, someone's got to drop here, someone's got to drop there. We take them out to our agent, and what we do is we use 1 truck now to do the deliveries around the city, and we put both drivers back in the same truck, and the trainer steps back a little bit and doesn't give as much instruction. And you do another 3 trips. Once again, you have to be a 4 or 5 before we let you go. It's working well. I've had a couple people get through the training, and then they've decided that long haul is not for them. So, you get people that drop off. And
so are these people that have, excuse me, are these people, these are people out of school, obviously, that figured out after the 3rd or 4th trip out to Seattle or Portland that they just don't want to do this work? Or are these guys and girls with 1 year experience?
Some of them are right out of school, and some guys are with actual 1 year of experience. I actually have a gentleman coming in tomorrow to start. He's got 2 years of experience with his melt and then 1 year of actual driving, right? So it's 2 full years of experience. He has to go through our program. I think it's the next level because we're putting all these people through these schools, but nobody can get a job. And what they're doing is they are getting jobs out there with these fly-by-night carriers that just throw them the keys. The gentleman that's coming in tomorrow to start his orientation got his license, went to a carrier out of Toronto. They threw the keys at him and gave him a 76,000 pound flatbed load to go to Montreal and said, there you go, be in Montreal tomorrow. Joseph almost killed himself. And he actually got on a train and come back. He was so scared he wouldn't bring the truck back. He's been shunting for the last 1.5 years at SPS in Alliston. And he seen my ad, came in and talked. And he's so happy that I'm concerned about the safety of training. We've got to put the onus back on us to train these people. When you learned, Chuck, and when I learned, it was here's the keys. California is that way. Payday's on Friday. We can't do that. So I've tried to put a good program together. I'm at 4 drivers per year right at the moment. We don't know if we're going to try to do more drivers because I have to get a couple more trainers, but I'm not so interested in training a ton of people as it's just another alternative to put people in trucks. And
Yeah, it's expensive.
Quality over quantity.
it's actually not expensive. If you look at the long term, I've had such good rapport because I actually have the trainee evaluate the training. Okay, so I'm getting feedback on the training at all times to make it better. If the person stays, the training is priceless. You really can't put a price on that.
If they
Training,
stay, yes. But
yes,
it must
yeah.
kill you, the ones that you've spent, you've sent out west 3 times. They come back and they go, I can't do this.
You know what? I think down the road, it's still going to work in my favor because they're going to be word of mouth that, you know what, I shook the hand, wish them all the best. And you never know, someone's situation may change. And if it does change and they have to do something, I got a feeling they're going to come back to me.
Yeah. Now, are you finding it's easing up at all with recruitment? Because there's carriers. I know that over at Traffics, the phone has been ringing lately, and I see there's new guys coming in. I've actually helped them do a few road tests in the last month where the phone didn't ring all summer.
I'm finding that the more people that are applying right now that have the experience, it's not actual verifiable. No matter if you have experience or not, you're in my office for a week and you're doing the training. And I actually like the rookies better than the experienced guys because they're like, well, I've done all this. And, you know,
Yeah, the arrogance gets, yeah.
You don't have to break the bad habits.
Yeah, you know
and,
what? Yes, it's true, Rico.
and part of our program too is I'm not training you to drive a truck. Anyone can drive a truck. We could train monkeys to drive trucks, but you cannot train a monkey to make a good decision. And trucking is about making good decision after good decision after good decision. You know,
Very true.
I literally got back 2 o'clock this morning. We had some freight just get dropped in our lap, and I had to do a switch. So I left Friday night, went out to Brandon, Manitoba, switched, and came back. And I brought my newest trainee coming on, who's still in school. He said, "Can I go with you?" I'm like, "Sure, you can go with me." And he said, "You know, that was an eye opener." He says, "Now I really want to do this." He says, "I understand the logbook." And we hit some pretty good snowstorms, and I wouldn't let him drive. But while I was driving, I was explaining the choices I was making and stuff.
Right.
And he's like, "I'm going to go back to the school and tell everybody how cool this is." And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I can't take everybody. Just take this in and do it yourself. But it's the good decisions because you get these older guys who are set in their ways and they don't care what you want them to do.
Oh
You know,
no, they're just you know what, old habits die hard, and you're right. Some of these old guys, they're arrogant buggers, and you do a road test and you go, I don't like the way you're tailgating. Well, I've been driving for 35 years and I've never had an accident, and I just look at them and I go, yet, but you're gonna have one.
it's that old thing, you know, the skydive, you don't need a parachute. You only need a parachute if you want to do it again.
So we had, I wanted to bring this back up as well because I had a question from someone a little earlier in the week, and they were talking about gaining, what can they do to help to gain customers. And my answer to them, and I want to let everybody kind of contribute to this portion of the question, because a lot of times people talk about, of course, brokers is not a bad, having brokers and making brokers your customers is not necessarily a bad thing. It actually can work out to your benefit if you work it properly. Several different reasons why it's a good thing, such as if you want time off, then you just let your broker know that you're going to take off a certain amount of days, and normally it's not a problem. They'll get it covered or whatever for the days that you're taking time off for, and you can just go back to come back in and pick right back up where you left off. Whereas if you have a direct customer, unless you have a killer relationship or something else established, taking time off like that could present some conundrums to their operations, and that may not necessarily be a good thing for you when it comes time to as far as keeping that customer. Second portion is the advice that I passed on is and Darryl and Ted both have made good examples of this tonight. Be a problem solver. Find out what it is that is their pain point in their operation and present solutions to it. If you can present solutions to their problem and provide value, that will definitely get you in the door, and that'll keep you in the room. When you can come up and provide value added solutions for a customer, they definitely, that's something that they definitely are looking forward to. Like the drop trailer situation and moving freight, keeping freight on your dock for a whole week in advance. That's what I mean by adding value and providing solutions. What else did I have? And anybody else, if anybody else want to jump in, by all means, please jump in. But we're talking
No,
about.
I think that's exactly what we have to do, and that will separate any of our listeners from the rest of the herd. What are you bringing? It's kind of funny when carriers go in to see customers. A smart customer will say, "Well, what do you do?" And the guy goes, "Oh, I've got 5 trucks, and we run 48 states and 10 provinces." And if the traffic manager is smart, he'll shake the guy's hand and say, "We'll keep your card," because he knows damn well this guy's really not a whole lot of use to him. Because whenever he calls them, his trucks won't be available. But if you say, "Listen, you know what? If you know something about that customer, that really helps." Or if you ask really good questions and you say to the customer, where are your pain points?
Yeah, be looking for the opportunity. They may
That's
tell
it.
you without telling you, but if you adapt to listening to what it is that the information that they are giving you, then you can pick up on different things that you can maybe point out to them and show them that, okay, here's where your real problem is. If you can solve this, I can solve this for you, and that'll and by default that'll take care of this problem over here that you don't even realize that you got.
Chuck brings up Go ahead, Ted.
Oh, okay. On the drop trailer part, Rico, you brought that up again. I have found when I'm planning the week for my drivers with my customer, and when I tell them, hey, I've got this many trailers in your empty lot. I've got these drivers available to go to Maryland, Florida, or normal thing. You just automatically get those loads. I mean, they just love to hear that the trailers are there. So, that's their storage, too. So they enjoy that. And also, when I go visit my customers, I'm always making sure I'm reading the latest news about them that's coming out. When I went to go see my customer here about a month ago, that I was concerned about trying to save that relationship. I had 3 things memorized that they did this year that were pretty honorable things, and I brought it up during our discussion, and I could just see he was taken back. I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention to what your company's doing, and I'm, letting him know I'm proud to be working and having that partnership with somebody who are doing good things in the community, and just doing, having a name, reputation.
See, that's because you've taken the most important thing. You're not being like Chuck said about that guy's got 5 trucks and trying to run everywhere. That's part of Duranco's success. I knew that if I wanted to build this company this size, and I was going to try to take that approach, it was going to fail in today's day and age. You have to make your customer important. And if all you're thinking about is your profit margin, how much is going to be in your bank, maybe I might be wrong. It's working only for me. But anytime you think about what's going in your pocket first, I see a lot of people failing.
That's exactly. You're right on the money. Stop worrying about. You have to make a profit, but worry about the service and what you can do for the customer, and you'll make the money. that the stupidest thing that carriers will do is they'll go in and see a customer, and out of their mouth say, I can do it cheaper. I
Yes.
see a Duranco truck in there, or an Elite or a TKO or a traffic truck. I can do it cheaper. And you know what? If it's one of those customers, and I don't want to use this term, but I will anyways, Lord forgive me. If it's one of those customers that's a whore, that's what we always called them, and they will drop you for a nickel anyways. Once you get in there, they're going to drop you no matter what. You can bust your tail. Somebody comes around, they're 5 cents cheaper. You're out the door. I don't care if you have 100 trucks on there. They don't value your services. They value the almighty dollar. And you cannot build a business around those customers.
You're
Absolutely. And the one thing that you definitely I've mentioned this part as well. Never make price the last thing that you even want to talk about, because if you go in there and you bring solutions, you solve those things, then you're providing value, and you can definitely get, once you show that you're providing that value, the price is going to take care of itself. And all
100.
you simply do is just you repackage. I guess the term that I will say is you repackage what it is, all the things that the customers say that they need to have done. You repackage, tell them, okay, well, you tell them exactly word for word, hit each point that it is that they want, that they say that they need done, and you tell them what you can do. And this is a big point, something that Darryl always talks about when he comes on as well. Make sure that you don't promise more than you can deliver. Make sure that whatever it is that you say that you can do it, because that's the quickest way to lose a customer. If you say you can do something and you can't do it, and it's the first, and especially if it's the first time up at bat,
Yep.
it doesn't take long at all to mess up a relationship that took a long time to get.
It takes once, Rico. That's all it takes. It's no different. I always use the term. Every one of us has that special restaurant where we take our wives for their birthday or anniversary or whatever, and we go there because, well, the food's obviously good, but they make you feel good when you walk in. They may address you by name. They get you a nice table. Service is good. Food is good, and it's a great experience. Go in there once and leave and get sick from the food, or get a surly waiter or waitress.
Yeah,
Have them not, have them keep you waiting and waiting and waiting, or bring your wife's meal, not yours. A whole bunch of things, and I guarantee you're not ever going to that restaurant again. And I don't think trucking companies are any different. You're as good as your last load.
definitely.
Yes and no. I think if you build the relationship right, you are as good as your last load. But we've had some loads where we've had some issues. I've had a
Yes.
truck caught on the road and impounded, but because I built that relationship and I didn't worry about money, and it wasn't necessarily cheaper, it was market rate. But the honesty that
Bingo. Yes.
I provide allows fortitude for shit to happen. I deal with Tony at ITB a lot. ITB's been around a long time in Etobicoke.
Right.
And you know what? The biggest thing he says about me is, when shit happens, we just tell him what's happening. And that's the most important. He doesn't have to lie to his customer. He doesn't tell his customer one thing and then the guy go back and tell him another, then go back and tell him another. We just tell him up front what's going on. I don't have an answer for you yet. As soon as I get one, I'll let you know. And what I still do to this day, and they say don't even bother, I send the invoices over in an email to show the ins and outs, the trucks in the shop. Does your customer need to talk to the shop? Does the customer need to see our tracking? Honesty can get you so much more than trying to sneak that little thing by somebody.
It doesn't work, and I'll share a story with you guys. Many, many, many years ago, I was 25 years old. And I really thought I was the smartest guy. I really did. And something messed up, and I went to see the customer and talk about the situation. And I lied, okay? And I told the customer the story again. And he said, "You finished?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Chuck, do me a favor, close the door." I went and I closed the door, and I sat down again. And he said, "Do you see these degrees on my wall?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "I didn't get them because I'm stupid. You lied, and I'll tell you exactly how you lied." And I felt like going like this. I just wanted to, and it was such a horrible lesson that after that, it didn't matter what it was. I told the truth because I never wanted to relive that.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't be a good
That
feeling.
man taught me. He taught me the lesson of a lifetime.
Yeah, but yeah,
Some
so
people never learn that lesson though. It's amazing. You know who I used to work for before I started my own, Chuck, and
Yes.
there would be time after time that they had lied about freight, and I'd walk in, the guy's like, "Oh, flat tire, eh?" I'm like, "Pardon?" "Oh, you broke down, had a flat tire?" I'm like, "No, I wasn't feeling well. I slept in. Didn't my dispatch tell you the truth?" "No." I said, "Well, I'm not lying to you." And I used to get yelled and screamed at all the time. But now I still go to that customer in Seattle, and half the people in Seattle, I unload my own truck. I jump on their forklifts and put the freight away. And because once someone can trust you, they trust you.
Yeah, and don't ruin that trust for anything. It's sacred. So I'm curious, Darryl. You're talking about this insurance you're with, and it sounds a little bit like a captive. But do you and the other carriers work together collaboratively to come up with best practices for safety and training and things like that?
I'm trying to get that to happen. Right now, everybody wants to work on their own. They don't
Oh,
want to share
geez, you're
secrets.
missing the best part of it.
They do. We all work with like John Farquhar from Summit, so we get a little bit benefit there. It's ran through NFP now. It used to be Dalton Timmons.
Yeah, that's
It's a lot of hard work. I'm actually trying to get somewhere where we can go and start talking because I definitely don't know anything. I make mistakes all the time because if I knew everything, I'd be extremely rich and I wouldn't have been in Brandon, Manitoba this weekend. But hey, um, I want to learn from other people, and it
yes,
seems like everyone's trying to keep a secret. And you know, there's no secret. It's freight, supply chain, logistics, whatever you want to call it. We're moving freight from A to B. And the more you work with people and openness, the better you are. Know what you're good at and focus on that. And find someone that's good at something else and work with them. But not everybody wants to do that. I'm really trying to hope that Kip from BIS is who the adjusters are. He really had a good interview with us when he came up to check on stuff. And I said, we need to get together. There may be one thing I'm doing that someone else
right.
isn't doing that could perfect his operation, and we could all learn from it, right? I want to be
Yes,
an open book. That's why I like coming on this show. It's the time for trying to be quiet and beat your competition is gone. We're in a perfect market that if you learn to talk and work with other people, you'll grow immensely.
yeah, and work collaboratively.
right.
That's one thing about our industry. Historically, we always did to some degree. Um, and then we've lost that a little bit somewhere along the way. But historically, I was just talking to somebody the other night. I had dinner with a guest that's been on the show, Ray Vieneman, and we were having dinner. And he said, "You know what I love about the trucking industry?" He said, "It's the people. It's the fact you guys are always, you're just kind of all open." Yeah, and that's one of the things we always have been. And I know there's some newbies in the business that don't understand that. But historically, we have traded information.
I'm looking at the time. I wanted to circle back around to a subject real quickly before we run out of time. I wanted to get some input on from both of you gentlemen. And if you don't know, Darryl has a little bit of a different operation. Darryl does a lot of LTL freight. Ted is more of a Ted. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ted, but you're more of a traditional full truckload carrier.
Correct.
So, what market conditions right now? Everything that's going on in the market, as far as are you seeing a little bit more density in freight? Are you seeing more freight picking up? About the same, or is it dropping off? What are the things that different things that you're seeing right now, real time in the marketplace, and what are you anticipating maybe for the foreseeable future?
So some of our backhauls or reloads back to Nebraska, it has slowed down. It's been tougher. It's just I have to spend a lot more time and effort getting that work coming back. It's there. Just had to get more aggressive. The rates have definitely backed off, come back, but our rates going out kind of make up for that. Our rates going out kind of makes up for this, so to speak. What I see in the foreseeable future, I don't see it getting better anytime soon. I think back to 2008, and what the problem was in 2008 was there was too much debt. Well, today it's only doubled, if not tripled. So, what our economy is dealing with, and on a global scale, there's too much debt everywhere, and the economies on a global scale are dealing with that, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon. But I don't think it's all in, because no bureaucrat, no politician, right or left, wants this on their back, their reputation, that they let this balloon finally pop. So I think they'll do what they've always done, and they'll somehow come up with a way to keep pumping money and stimulus, and it'll eventually come back. So, like Chuck and I had a conversation, I think a day or two ago. We've been through this before, and we'll get through it.
Yeah, you're right. We'll definitely get through it. I think inflation's here to stay. And one of the things I did here is one of the reasons for inflation, we're doing an awful lot um, of reshoring, and we're bringing manufacturing back from areas that we've been manufacturing in Asia and places like that don't have the labor component, the price of labor that we do here. So rather than having somebody work for $4 a day or whatever, making widgets for an automotive plant, you bring it back to Ohio or Indiana, and you're paying somebody $24 an hour. Well, obviously, that's going to cause inflation. And there's been more of that. So I think we've got to wrestle with that. Equipment has gotten so expensive, as we all, and
It's
diesel.
starting to come back down.
Yeah.
It's slowly coming back down, but it's starting to come back to earth.
But it's not, we'll never see it at the prices unless there's a economic, meltdown. I don't think we're going to see buying a new truck for $140,000 Canadian, which would be 100 US.
It's like stock market. It's going to bounce, but it's going to keep going up. Trucks are going to keep getting more expensive. Trailers are going to keep getting more expensive.
Well, they put a lot more stuff into them now with, all the, between the environmental stuff and the safety stuff, the anti-rollover, the disc brakes, all that, it all costs money.
It really does. So the answer on Rico, on my part, Rico, my business is unique. The slower it gets, the busier I get. LTL and partial load, and that's like I'm trying to be mainly LTL, but being able to take partial, I can take 30 feet, and depending on what my freight weighs and having all the right questions, I can put LTL with the partial and still come out way ahead. So I think it's going to be here, and I think we're going to have a 2008. Like Ted said, the politicians don't want that. They're doing everything they can, but eventually the bubble is going to have to pop. It just depends how big it pops is what the question is. Because like I've told my team, because I'm pretty honest with them, a recession, I don't think we have anything to worry about. I think that's when my driver shortage will disappear,
Yes.
because I will be able to provide the miles consistently without any issue. My company is only 6 years old. If it was to be a depression, in the sense of, even in the depression, it wasn't that bad. There was still a lot of work. I don't believe I have the strength to make it through a depression. And the reason I say that is the young company growing. I'm with the Hitachis, the Benningtons. I'm not with the big banks. And a lot of these companies are borrowing money from banks and then relending it out, putting a couple points on it. So where I think I would have the problem is if a depression came, is my loans would probably end up getting called, because their loans would get called, because they're doing risky deals. So recession, I'm saying bring it on, because my life will get easier.
Right. Yeah, it's like somebody made a joke once. Said, a millionaire, he might get foreclosed on, but a billionaire, the bank is going to call him and figure out a way to restructure.
It's true though. I'm sure. And you know what? The funny thing about because I spent a lot of my career in the partial load business. When things get bad, the partial load business increases because all of a sudden people aren't buying 24 skids of product. They only want to buy 4 skids because they're just not selling 24 skids.
Well, see, there's perfect. So Trafix has got a really big brokerage, and I love working with them. But think about it. If Trafix has 5 customers out of Seattle, and it's a full truckload, how many guys are you going to get to run around doing 5 pickups? Nobody likes to do it.
No.
So the guy looking for the truckload is sitting there at a truck stop waiting for that one pick, one drop, because he wants to sit at the lunch counter and talk. But hey, we know Duranco. Hey, we got 5 picks. This is what we got to do. We need to get more creative. We need to consolidate for our customer. It could be 5 pickups for Walmart. It could be 5 pickups for Toys R Us. Okay, let's talk. Let's sit down and figure out a solution so you win and I win and the customer wins. You automatically, in that partial load business, if you build it right, can come out way ahead.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Market.
I'm
sorry, I got a cat. Just drive me up a wall.
It's definitely for me. It's doing the hard work first, and it's those relationships. If I didn't have the direct customers and those relationships built, I'd be right now. So not hurting. Right now, I feel very comfortable with with my business and what we're doing. It just those relationships, and it starts with all that hard work. I went and got the education. I saw Chuck speak on stage a couple times when I was first getting into this business. I stay in touch with guys like you to continue my education. I'm on the show to continue my education. I think we always have to keep and continue learning so we can survive all this. I think maybe 8-9 years in business, but I went from firing my first bank to now I've built this business to where the bank is now driving an hour out to me and sitting in my office and visiting. So I've got a solid relationship there. I've already expressed my relationship with the customers, going to see them, and it's just a lot. It's all about that relation. I think that's what's how I'm getting
100%.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, we want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. It is that time. I want to give each of you an opportunity to tell the listeners if they have questions, or if you want to share your information, share your contact information and all that good stuff. Let the people know where they can find you, and we'll get ready to wrap this thing up. And hopefully we won't make it 6 months before we do this thing again.
And that for sure.
Go ahead, Ted.
Ted,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
let you go first.
Okay. So you can visit my website. That's ecetruck.com. You can send me an email at ted@ecetruck.com, or you can give me a call 402-366-0340.
Good deal. Good deal. Any social media you want to share with the Ted, or are you just strictly on the website?
I'm on Twitter, but I can't remember my thing there. At Elite Commodity Express. I'm on Instagram and Twitter both, but you can find me on Facebook at Elite Commodity Express.
All right. Well, we appreciate you for taking time out to join us again, Ted. All right, Darryl, go ahead and let the people know how they can get in contact with you and where they can find you.
Definitely please check out our brand new website, www.durancospecialized.com. And Duranco is DARUNCO, stands for Darryl Runs Company. Hey, I'm Darryl. If you want to send me an email, it's Darryl@durancospecialized.com. Our number is 705-214-9659. We do have a Facebook page, and I am on Instagram, but it's in a remake change because we're hooking up with a marketing company to check it all out. But we're going to have some blogs and that. So jump over to the website and check us out. And thanks for having me again, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
If anybody wants me, feel free to reach out. Best way to get me these days on email, chuck@traffix, TRAFFIX.com. If you want to get set up with one of the Traffix offices, or you're having some challenges in your business or questions, feel free. Throw your phone number on the email. A lot of times it's just easier for me these days to just pick up the phone and call you. And with that, Rico, I'm going to let you back her in a hole for another week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely appreciate you guys for taking time out to join us this evening. It's always a pleasure. We're definitely grateful and humbled by your presence, whether you're listening to us live or you're listening to a rebroadcast or a later showing of this particular podcast. Remember, we need your help. Like, share, subscribe, comment. It might be an old show, but we always we'll go back and look at the comments. If you comment on something, then we definitely have something to go back and look at. If you got a question about something that you would like for us to cover, if you got a topic that you want us to try to dig into and shed a little bit more light on, by all means, drop it, send it to us, and we'll do the best we can to try to get a guest to come on to actually talk about it and explain it and go in depth with it. If we can't talk to it with any knowledge, so we definitely give us some homework assignment. We definitely need your feedback. And with that being said, we want you guys to stay safe out there, stay healthy, keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and we'll talk at your same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night. Thanks again, gentlemen.
Catch on the flip-flop. Thanks, guys. God bless.